And it's tournament day. 9th edition. 9th edition points. The Drukhari march to war. Let's begin.
The Dark King.
And here we are, the start of tournament day. I'm taking 2,000 points of Drukhari. New point values, we're playing new missions, all that good stuff. This is going to be a great day. So first thing we're going to do is go over the army that I'm playing. I'm here already in Georgetown, Ontario, at the Hooded Goblin, just waiting to go inside. We're going to be wearing masks that are going to spray down all the events. Now, Ontario has a lot of areas gone into stage 3 of reopening for COVID, which means we technically going to have events like up to 50 people and whatnot. This is a small 8-person RTT. It's 3 rounds, and there's some really good competition. I already know who my first round opponent is, which is awesome because they posted the pairings. However, you will have to wait and see. So let's dive into the mission and then get into the action. I hope you enjoy the video. And here we have 2,000 points of Drukhari, which is the army I'll be taking to the tournament. I'm really excited to test this out. It's a modification of the previous list. Of course, last list was 1,500 points, old points. This is 2,000 points, new points. But you can see it's very similar in the amount of models I could take, other than, you know, some Talos and stuff that I've put in there as well. So why triple patrols? Drukhari have this cool rule called like Space Raiders or whatever, where if you take 3 patrols, you gain 4 command points, and then the 2 command points spent on your Warlord's patrol is refunded. So you start the game with 12 command points. Now, the reason you want to do this is if you want to mix and match obsessions. So if you want to take multiple obsessions and, you know, take a Cabal, a Witch Cult, a Coven, or 2 different Covens, or 2 different Cabals in a Coven, or a Witch Cult, or 2 Witch Cults. So you can mix and match all the really cool rules that Drukhari have in their codex, as they are essentially 3 different codexes in one. Codex Witch Cult, Codex Cabal, Codex Coven. So that's neat. Now, what this allows me to do is, traditionally, anyone who's followed the channel knows that my competitive list was mostly a battalion, Cabal of Blackheart, and a vanguard or spearhead, usually, or patrol of Prophets of the Flesh. This was in 8th edition. So in 9th edition, I've been able to combine the battalion of Cabal of Blackheart into 2 patrols. What this does is it saves me one of the troop choices, which I don't have to take anymore. So that's 2 troops and 2 HQs for the 2 patrols, instead of 3 troops and 2 HQs for a battalion. So that's cool. So I can save some points there, especially with a lot of the stuff going up in points for the Drukhari. Now, after the event, I'll sit down. I'll discuss, you know, what I think about the point changes, if, you know, I wouldn't have changed this list or anything like that. But let's dive in. We have the 2 patrols, one led by Archon Skari himself, with a blast pistol and huskblade, and one led by Drazar, who I absolutely love this model. He looks so cool. 2 units of Cabalite Warriors, 5 strong, each with just rifles. 2 Venoms with 1 cannon and twin-linked rifles. Cheapest way, you know, sadly. They cost the same as a Venom did with 2 cannons now. However, if you used to run 2 cannons, you can just take away a cannon and it's the same cost, which is kind of cool. 2 triple disintegrated Ravagers, probably one of the most interesting point increases in the entire codex. Going up to 160 points makes them premium real estate for points. However, I think they might still be useful, so I'm going to test them out. I do like my Ravager disintegrators. And a Forgeral Reaper. Really curious to see how he does. Like, he's done okay when I've used him, but this taking him to tournament and really sort of doubling down on using him, I'm really, really curious to see how he works. So, let's see what happens there. And then a Prophets of the Flesh Patrol with a Homunculus with a Hex Rifle. 2 units of 5 racks with no upgrades. 5 Grotesques. Yes, they are converted. Lots of cool little conversions there. And I've decided to go for 5 to, help with the coherency rules as well as the blast rules. And last but not least, the meaty and potatoes of the whole list, 2 units of 3 Talos. Still amazing. Still absolutely amazing in my opinion, with double haywire, chain flails, and macro scalpels. I love having the chain flails as an option for when you're attacking the enemy. So that is 2,000 points. Really curious to see how it does. We are using the leaked GT missions that were leaked a couple of days ago very curious to see how it works, because some of the missions require you to hold 2 objectives minimum to get 5 points in the primary, which means board control and having troops and things like that is going to be incredibly important for the mission itself. I start with 12 command points. I spend 1 for Alliance of Agony to give my Homunculus Diabolical Soothsayer, and I spend an additional command point for an extra relic for the Vexator Mask, which is always really good, denying Overwatch, and then having an enemy unit within 6 inches fight last. Really, really useful, especially because I get to pick the first, or the opponent gets to pick the first one to fight, so you can really kind of mitigate both in their turn and in your turn, which is kind of cool. And he's taken Writ of the Living Muse for rerolling 1s to wound in a 6-inch radius, and the Labyrinthine Cunning for CP regeneration. So start with 10 command points plus D3 command points for the Homunculus. Should give me a healthy amount of command points to start the game with. And let me know what you think of the list down below. Now we'll go over the list itself at the end of the event, after it's all done. And I'll kind of break it down and kind of talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, that sort of thing. So let's dive in to the Hooded Goblin GT. And by GT, I mean RTT. Arr. And here we are. As you can see, the tables, some of them have stayed about the same as last week. That's my table for round 1. And I love this table. I hope I get to play on this one today. And this one, which is a little bit more dense and varied. And we dive in to round 1, where I get to play Iron Hands. This was lots of guns, lots of survivability with the Apothecary with the Feel No Pain. I was very curious to see how the Drukhari would deal with what was essentially an 8th edition powerhouse list. At the start of round 1, I'm playing Iron Hands. Jeff has decided to go first. Good old Tights Man, and we've deployed. We're playing one of the new leaked GT missions. So it's 5 objectives like this. It's like a hammer and anvil, but it's a squeeze deployment, and it's hold 2 for 5 points, hold 3 or more for 10 points, and hold more for that many points. What's going on? Look at that. 2 cameras going at the same time. Good luck, Jeff. Have some fun. Thank you, buddy. And let's dive in to the game. In this game, we were able to see how impactful obscuring terrain really was. With so many ruins on the board with obscuring, I was able to sort of mitigate a lot of the shooting. He did have a Scorpius, though, which was incredibly powerful this game. End of round 1. Jeff, good game. Thank you for the game, bud. Yeah, well, so this game was very interesting. It's one of the new GT missions that was leaked, so we're using them today. And in this one, the primary is you need to hold 2 to get 5 points. So he went first, and then I was able to essentially deny him from holding objectives and pushed hard onto this side of the field while sort of slowing him down there. So I was able to swing the flank this way and then essentially control these 4 objectives with my Talos and Grotesque just swinging through here with Drazar and killing most of the stuff that was inside. And then as soon as on turn 4, I was able to tag his Scorpius. It was like pretty much game over by that point. But on that, it was a good game. It was 88 to 25. And I did put flags down, so I picked flags. I picked engage on all fronts, which was good, and I picked bring it down because I wanted to kill all the tanks, which was a good choice. The only one I did max was bring it down because the one impulsor survived with 2 wounds remaining at the end of the game. Other than that, good game. Let's move on to round number 2. Now, round 2, I got to play against Sebastian, who has been playing Necrons for a very long time, using a very interesting Necron list. Lots of Wraiths, Doomsday Arcs. So it seems like an adaptation of the 8th edition style list to 9th edition. Now, of course, most Necron players out there will be eagerly awaiting their new codex, but let's see how I was going to match up against this list specifically. Round 2, playing Sebastian and his amazing Necrons. Lots and lots of Wraiths, which are great. We're playing one of the GT missions that got leaked, so we're just using them already. That was like the tournament voted. So I am going first against a bunch of Doomsday Arcs, some Wraiths and stuff. I'm hiding a Reaper back here. I've got Talos and Grotesques and all that stuff here. As for secondaries, I'm engaging on all fronts. I'm taking flags, and I'm trying to keep my 2 Ravagers and my Reaper alive. However, I have put the Ravagers in Deep Strike to try and keep them alive. Okay, but with that, let's dive in to the first turn. Wish me luck. So, into game number 2. This game came down to timing in a lot of ways. Me going first allowed me to push up into the middle and taking objectives and sort of move off to the flank, which then allowed me to focus on one unit of Wraiths and the Destroyer Lord that had come in to fight instead of all 3 at once because of the way that we had maneuvered. There was one key turn where just everything went my way. I made lots of saves and I was able to basically go in and clear out his home objective, which was very good for me. End of round 2, and it was a victory for the Drukhari. The objectives were here, 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 here. There was a pivotal turn where everything went wrong for the Necrons.
Dude, everything!
And the Necrons just couldn't... I was able to basically take all the objectives at that point, and his Wraiths were sort of like split up in the middle, and my Talos with their chain flails just kept on killing.
Killed everything!
The Talos with chain flails just murdered everything and passed a lot of 4-up saves. And their Haywire did really well. Killed one turn 1, killed another one turn 3, so it was like, the Haywire did great. With a Fire and Fading Reaper behind line of sight, which was really awesome. They killed all the destroyers in one volley, which was great. So with that, I'm going on to round number 3 against the mighty Custodes. And here we are at the end of the event. So last round, I'm playing Devin again. Yay, Devin! What's going on, buddy? Today he's brought his Grey Army of Doom. They're technically supposed to be gold because Custodes are really powerful in 9th edition.
Last night, so.
There's almost no models. It's 10 bikes, 6 Alaris Terminators.
6 Alaris, 3 Sagittarium, 2 Bike Captains.
Yeah, 2. So it's very, very slow on model count, but like just won't die. So it's going to be very, very intense. And we started deploying. We're playing another one of the missions from the leaked GT pack, which is 5 objectives. And secondaries wise, I picked Scramblers to try and get the Scramblers, and the engage on all fronts again, and direct assault. So I get 3 points if I hold that one in the middle. He picked that one too, so we're going to be beating each other up. It's going to be great fun. Okay, wish me luck. And wish Devin luck too, because he's a good guy.
Don't wish him luck!
Shut up, Jeff.
Guy, Jeff. Screw you.
Shut up, Jeff. And the battle was joined. Devin decided to take first turn, which was a good choice. He decided to move up into the middle of the board. Now, this game held by a thread for almost the entire game. Then on turn 3, the Alaris Terminators made a fantastically long charge with a reroll, and I could not have vectored it, which then allowed him to basically get back into the game. Because up to about the end of turn 3, going into turn 4, I had been holding the advantage. I was tying up the bikes, I was taking the objectives, I was scoring all my points. But that Alaris Terminator charge just allowed him to get back in the game and then sweep it around in his favor towards the end. And that is the game. Devin, fantastic game. As you can see, there's Alaris Terminators in the middle. Good game. It was a 64 to 77 points, which was really tight, really close. There were a couple of key moments. Turn 1, my Homunculus not dying to a bunch of bikes. And then turn 3, the Alaris making a rerollable charge, really long charge to basically spin my whole flank on me and then just pin me in. I just couldn't get out of it. Honorable mention goes to these Wrecks that successfully got me lots of points and didn't die to a shield captain for like 2 turns. Other than that, thanks, Devin. That was really fun. And we will be back at the studio with everything else. Back at the studio, time to talk about the event. Fantastic game. That last game was a crazy tight game. Of course, if we were doing the 10 points for painted, I would have gotten 74 to his 77. Just saying, Devin. But we're not doing the painting scores until the start of the edition. So, other than that, it was a great event. I did come in second because of my high wins in round 1 and round 2. And I got myself some Scourges. Why? Not necessarily incredibly good, but for my Crusade army. So I have been doing some narrative Crusade stuff on the side. So let's dive into the list. Drukhari points increases definitely hit the army hard. There are some clear winners. I think mostly all the Coven units, in Prophets of Flesh especially, really come out on top. The ability to have a 4 invulnerable save, durability, movement, being able to get onto objectives and hold them has proven to be excellent, as well as the damage dealing. So if you take a look at the army that I had earlier, I've been thinking about what units to tweak to switch. The key to playing competitively or building a very fine-tuned list is not changing the list too much.
especially if it vibes well with you. You know, when I do coaching or when I, help someone build a list, one of the aims is to find a list that sort of works well with your playstyle. And this sort of playstyle with the list works with me, so I don't want to change it that much. Now, looking back at the Ravagers with disintegrated cannons, they are very expensive, and they don't really have the punch against some of the tougher armies out there. The Iron Hands player had a 5-up Feel No Pain and an invulnerable save on his infantry, so it was mitigated from that. Against the Necrons, yes, it was good, but a lot of them had invulnerable saves. I did find the Reaper to be an MVP the entire game, so why not take a second one, is my thought. So as I look into my list, I also really, really like the Talos, and I know the Custodes are going to be a major player at the competitive scene as we move forward. So if I want to continue to play Drukhari, I want to fit in some elements that help deal with that. So I'm starting to look at taking the Ravagers with Disintegrators out, putting a second Reaper in, which allows me to take one single patrol of Blackheart with 2 heavy support choices, and take 1 unit of Cavalite Warriors out, but keep the 2 Venoms. And then, if you're still following, I would make the Prophets of Flesh into 2 different patrols, have one with Drazar, one with Homunculus, potentially putting in Uri and Rakarth as an additional HQ, or switching Drazar out for Urien. The jury is still out on that one. Taking the Grotesques out, putting more Racks in, giving the Racks also factors for Fire and Fade, and taking 9 Talos, not 6, because the Talos were amazing. However, as for the Haywire Blasters, I might switch them for Heat Lancers now. Strength 6, -5 AP, D6 damage, and being able to shoot them in close combat means that even those Custodes might get scared to come too close to the mighty, mighty Talos. So that is my general thought process. I will be going to another event soon, and I hope you follow the journey as well. Let me know what you've been thinking about your specific army lists and designs. As for the GT mission pack, once the book is officially released, I get a chance to take a look at it, I will be giving sort of like a rundown. We'll do a whole series on playing the physical missions. Of course, I'm going to be testing them and playing them myself before I give you any advice, as I like to know what I'm talking about before I start chatting on YouTube. Other than that, thanks a lot for tuning in. A huge shout out to all the channel Patreons. The Denizen community is amazing, and I wouldn't be able to do any of this without your support. If you'd like to hop on to the community of worldwide like-minded gamers, check the link down below. It's right there, as well as the channel sponsors. I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. Bye, everybody, and don't forget, the Dark Kin.